The psychology of female empaths with zero friends. She has absorbed every single unspoken emotion you've ever tried to conceal, every carefully constructed masked smile, every forced, hollow laugh, and every quiet, persistent ache you've ever carried into a room, fervently praying no one would notice it. But she noticed. She always notices. And yet, if you were to truly examine her life, to deeply scrutinize its contours, you would stumble upon a stark and startling reality that brings you up short. She has no close friends, not a single one. There isn't a soul she would feel comfortable calling in the vulnerable hours of 2 a.m., with a deep need or a joyous secret. There are no intimate birthday dinners planned for her, no casual group chats buzzing with her name. How can it be that the woman who feels the most profoundly, who understands the depths of human emotion with unparalleled clarity, finds herself utterly, completely alone? This isn't the kind of question you might initially assume it is, and the answer, once unveiled, is poised to fundamentally transform the way you perceive loneliness, the very essence of empathy, and perhaps most significantly, your own understanding of yourself forever. Please stay with me, because in these coming moments, we are going to unlock a profound insight into the complex psychology of empathic women, an understanding that most individuals fail to grasp in an entire lifetime of living and observing. If, in these initial moments, something within these words has already resonated deeply with you, if a nerve you hadn't expected to be touched today has indeed been vibrated, then please, take a moment right now and simply drop the word "felt" into the comments. Just that one singular word. It will be a silent signal to me that you are truly present, truly connecting with this message. And if this kind of raw, soul-stirring content speaks directly to your inner being, then I urge you to subscribe to this channel, for we are not afraid to venture into the deeper, more challenging territories that many other platforms deliberately avoid. Let us now embark on this journey of understanding. There is a woman, perhaps someone you know intimately, someone you interact with regularly. It's possible she is a presence in your immediate life, a colleague, a family member, or even a casual acquaintance. And it's entirely possible that this woman is, in fact, you. She radiates warmth. She possesses an extraordinary perceptiveness that goes far beyond surface-level observation. She is the type of individual who can walk into a bustling room and instantly, almost instinctively, read the invisible emotional currents, the unspoken weather of every single person present. She discerns effortlessly who is putting on a brave face, who is subtly hurting beneath a veneer of normalcy, who is smiling outwardly with their lips while their eyes betray a quiet internal despair. She absorbs all of this, drawing it into herself like a thirsty sponge pressed firmly against the complex, emotional surface of the world. People, almost inevitably, are profoundly drawn to her because of this unique ability. They find her presence captivating, undeniably magnetic. They sense in her a rare and profound sense of safety, an unspoken invitation to be vulnerable. And so, they open up to her in ways they have never dared to open up to anyone else before. They confide in her, sharing truths they have never articulated aloud. They cry in front of her, sometimes without even fully understanding the source of their tears, simply because her presence allows it. They feel truly, profoundly seen by her, in a way that often feels almost supernatural, as if she possesses a gift beyond ordinary human comprehension. And then, inevitably, they leave. Not always in a cruel or conscious act of abandonment, but they simply return to their lives. They go back to their established circles of friends, their packed social calendars, their weekend brunches, their casual everyday phone calls. And she? She is left behind in the quiet, echoing silence they leave in their wake, alone once more. This is the largely unseen, deeply internal existence of the female empath, who finds herself without close friendships. And its psychological complexities are far more intricate and profound than most people are willing to acknowledge or give credit for. Let us begin at the very foundation. Let us clarify precisely what an empath truly is, because this term is constantly and unfortunately misused. And this pervasive misunderstanding comes at a significant cost, often preventing countless individuals from achieving genuine self-understanding. An empath is not merely someone who is kind or compassionate, though they often possess these qualities in abundance. Kindness is a behavior, a choice. An empath is an individual for whom the emotional experiences of other people register not merely as intellectual observations, but as vivid, visceral, internal events within their own body and mind. When someone in her vicinity is gripped by anxiety, she doesn't just recognize it intellectually. She feels a distinct, unsettling shift deep within her own chest, a mirroring of that tension. When another person is submerged in grief, she doesn't simply offer sympathy. She experiences a true, tangible version of that grief within herself, as if it were her own. When anger surges in someone nearby, her own body instinctively tenses, mirroring the other's internal agitation. And when genuine joy radiates from another, something within her genuinely, physically lights up, a shared resonance of happiness. This isn't some poetic metaphor or abstract concept. This is fundamental neurology. Extensive research into mirror neurons has unequivocally shown us that some human brains are intrinsically wired with an extraordinarily high degree of emotional resonance. They automatically and spontaneously mirror the internal states of others. They do not actively choose to feel what other people feel, it simply happens, an involuntary physiological response, much like breathing or a sudden reflex. For the majority of people, this kind of profound emotional resonance manifests only occasionally, in moments of intense connection. But for the female empath, it is a constant, ceaseless state of being. It occurs in the grocery store aisles, on crowded public transit, during mundane work meetings, and even in the midst of conversations she never even desired to be a part of. She is perpetually receiving, constantly absorbing, tirelessly translating the intricate emotional language of the world that swirls relentlessly around her. Now, this is precisely where the psychology of her situation becomes both utterly fascinating and simultaneously deeply painful. Because of this relentless, unwavering absorption of others' emotional states, the empath develops something that most people never quite attain. She cultivates an extraordinarily sophisticated and nuanced understanding of human behavior. She grasps the underlying reasons behind people's actions with remarkable clarity. She sees the fear that often simmers beneath a facade of anger, the profound grief that lies hidden beneath a stoic silence, and the unmet need that frequently drives acts of cruelty. She possesses an uncanny ability to see right through the superficial surfaces that people present. She sees through their performances, no matter how convincing. She sees through the elaborate, careful constructions that individuals meticulously build around themselves in a desperate attempt to avoid being truly known, truly seen. She cannot be easily deceived or misled. And it is precisely this acute perceptive ability, right here, that is the genesis of her profound friendship problem. Most human friendships, by their very nature, operate on a certain unspoken amount of social performance. This isn't malicious performance, it's rarely dishonest, in a damaging way. Rather, it's a kind of gentle social choreography where you subtly present a carefully curated version of yourself. You might highlight your better moods more often than your darker, more challenging ones. You keep certain private thoughts to yourself because expressing them might unnecessarily complicate the dynamics of the relationship. You maintain a kind of comfortable, agreeable surface that allows two individuals to coexist pleasantly, enjoying each other's company without ever truly needing to meet at the deepest, most vulnerable level of their being. This is perfectly normal. This is precisely how the vast majority of human social bonds function, and there is absolutely nothing inherently wrong with it. But the female empath simply cannot participate in this surface-level dance comfortably. She enters into such a friendship, and almost immediately, she feels the profound, jarring gap between what is being said, what is being shown, and what is actually true beneath it all. She feels it with the persistent, irritating discomfort of a tiny pebble lodged firmly in her shoe. It's not devastating, perhaps, but it's constant. A nagging awareness that makes the entire experience of walking through the friendship feel slightly off, fundamentally unaligned. She yearns to go deeper. She craves the real thing, the authentic connection. She desperately wants to know what you genuinely fear, what you truly dream about when your guard is down, what keeps you staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning. She desires the conversation that lies underneath stated conversation, the unexpressed truths. And most people are simply not prepared for that level of raw, unvarnished depth. Most find that intensity uncomfortable, even jarring. Some perceive it as invasive, a transgression of personal boundaries. Others find it utterly overwhelming, too much to bear. A few might try to meet her there, at that profound depth, for a brief period, but then they quietly, almost instinctively, retreat back to the safety of the surface, because the true depth demands far too much of them. Too much self-exposure, too much vulnerability. And so, she finds herself caught in a recurring, heartbreaking pattern. She connects intensely with someone, pouring her entire being into the nascent bond. She offers everything she has, her profound insight, her unwavering presence. She sees them fully, completely, without judgment. She holds a sacred space for their pain, their confusion, their joy, with a generosity and understanding that most people have never before experienced. The other person feels this profound connection. They feel genuinely seen, truly known, and incredibly safe in her presence. And for a glorious, fleeting while, the connection between them is extraordinary, almost transcendent. And then, inevitably, the other person pulls back. Not necessarily because they don't care for her or value her, but because the sheer depth of connection she so readily offers requires a level of self-awareness, emotional courage, and reciprocal vulnerability that most people are still, quite understandably, in the process of developing. Intense closeness feels like too much. The raw realness feels like too much. The way she sees directly through their defenses into their very core feels like too much. And she is left alone once more, holding the remnants of a connection that burned so brightly for a time, only to suddenly extinguish. Over the course of countless repetitions, this painful pattern etches something indelible onto her soul. It teaches her a lesson, a devastating falsehood that, through sheer repetition, comes to feel absolutely irrevocably true. It teaches her that she is too much, too deep, too intense, too real, too feeling, too everything. And so, out of a desperate need for self-preservation, she begins to protect herself. Not in a dramatic, sudden outburst, but quietly, gradually, almost imperceptibly, she starts to hold back pieces of herself. She stops being the first to reach out. She refrains from immediately offering her profound depth. She waits. She watches. She becomes meticulously careful. But herein lies the agonizing irony, the cruel paradox of this protective strategy. When she deliberately holds back her depth, when she consciously dims her most potent light, she also inadvertently mutes her greatest gift, the very essence of what draws people to her in the first place, her full, unwavering presence, her radical, unflinching honesty, the almost magical way she makes you feel truly, undeniably seen. When she attempts to protect herself by dimming that essential part of her being, she becomes less magnetic, not more. And people, sensing that something is subtly withheld, that there's a barrier she's erected, do not press deeper. They remain comfortably at the surface, and the surface, tragically, is precisely where she cannot, will not, survive for long. So her very act of protection inadvertently creates the exact isolation it was so desperately trying to prevent. This, then, is one of the central, most heartbreaking psychological paradoxes of the friendless empath. She withdraws, building invisible walls around herself in an attempt to shield herself from the profound pain of losing connection. But this very withdrawal ensures that she never truly builds the genuine, lasting connections that would make her feel safe enough to ever stop withdrawing in the first place. Let us delve yet another layer deeper into her intricate inner world. There is a profound experience that occurs within the nervous system of the empath, an experience that most people simply do not comprehend, and often an experience that she herself doesn't fully grasp. Because she absorbs emotions with such an effortless, unyielding readiness, spending any significant amount of time with other people is genuinely, physiologically exhausting for her. This is not merely emotionally exhausting in the way an introvert might find social interaction draining because it consumes their limited social energy. For the empath, it is physically exhausting. Her nervous system has been relentlessly processing an enormous quantity of complex emotional data throughout the entire interaction, every subtle cue, every unspoken feeling. And when she finally returns home, collapsing into the blessed silence of her own space, she doesn't just feel socially tired. She feels as though she has just completed a grueling marathon, a race she never willingly signed up for. This constant physiological toll creates an incredibly complicated relationship with social life. She craves connection, deeply, profoundly, almost desperately. She is emphatically not a person who inherently prefers solitude. On the contrary, she is an individual who finds that most social interactions are simply insufficiently real, lacking the necessary depth to justify the enormous, tangible cost they extract from her body and spirit. Allow me to reiterate this point, for its importance cannot be overstated. She is not antisocial. She is not a loner by nature, by preference. She is a person who, through years of experience, has performed a very precise and often agonizing calculation. The emotional labor required and the profound physiological cost of engaging in most conventional social interactions consistently outweighs the meager nourishment she receives from them. Because the vast majority of social interactions simply do not venture deep enough to truly feed her soul, to replenish her spirit. And without that essential depth, she invariably leaves every gathering more depleted, more exhausted than when she arrived. So, she eventually stops going, not because she doesn't desire people, not because she has no need for human connection, but because the painful math of it all simply stopped working in her favor. Now, here is something that compounds this complexity even further, a facet of the empath's experience that very few people ever truly discuss. The female empath frequently possesses an extraordinary, almost boundless capacity for love. A love that is real, deep, unwavering, unconditional, a love that truly sees all of you. She is capable of loving people through their absolute worst moments, through their most challenging periods. She can extend her love to those who are broken, who are difficult, who are messy and imperfect. She can sit patiently with someone during their darkest hour, without flinching, without abandoning them, without ever making them feel like an unbearable burden. This is a truly rare gift, one of the most precious and uncommon there is in the human experience. But this very gift, paradoxically, creates an inherent imbalance in almost every relationship she enters. She gives at a level of intensity and depth that most people are simply unable to match. This isn't because other people are inherently selfish or uncaring. It is simply because most individuals have not cultivated or developed the emotional capacity to love at that extraordinary intensity or that profound depth. They love her the very best way they know how, with the tools they possess, but their best often feels to her like merely a fraction of what she freely gives. And over time, this consistent, relentless imbalance exhausts her. Not because she is meticulously keeping score, not because she demands an exact quid pro quo, but simply because she is human. And humans, at their core, need reciprocity. Not perfect reciprocity, not a mathematical equality of giving and receiving, but some fundamental sense that the emotional river flows in both directions, a natural give and take. When that river consistently flows in only one direction, pouring out from her without an equivalent return, she begins to feel profoundly invisible. Not necessarily unloved, perhaps, but distinctly, agonizingly unseen. She, who sees everyone else so clearly, so deeply, so completely, walks through her own life feeling as though no one truly, authentically sees her. This is the great, chronic ache that resonates at the very heart of the female empath's experience. To be the person who sees everyone in their glorious, messy entirety, and yet to feel utterly, completely unseen herself. She extends emotional attunement so freely, so generously, that people begin to forget that she too desperately needs it. They come to her burdened with their pain, and she holds it with unwavering strength. They approach her steeped in confusion, and she helps them navigate towards clarity. They share their joys with her, and she celebrates with her whole heart, her spirit lighting up in shared happiness. But when she herself carries pain, when she is mired in confusion, when she desperately needs someone to simply sit with her in her own darkness, people often do not know what to do. Because she appears so incredibly capable, she seems so remarkably strong, she projects an aura of such profound knowing that no one thinks to check on the woman who tirelessly does all the checking. No one thinks to hold space for the person who has always, without fail, been the steadfast space holder for everyone else. And so, she learns to carry everything alone. And carrying everything alone, year after arduous year, gradually, insidiously, severs the very need she might otherwise reach out to have met. She learns to become her own sole emotional support system. She learns to process her deepest emotions in the privacy of her own silent world. She learns to heal her own wounds without witnesses, without the comforting presence of another. And this, tragically, becomes yet another impenetrable layer of her isolation. It is not just that others often fail to show up for her, it is that she eventually stops expecting them to. She stops asking. She stops reaching out. She becomes entirely self-contained in her emotional life, a fortress of self-reliance. And a person who appears entirely self-contained emotionally, paradoxically, does not attract people who genuinely wish to care for her. Instead, she attracts more people who are drawn to be cared for by her. And thus, the cycle tragically continues, perpetuating her profound loneliness. Now, let us turn our attention to something that is profoundly under-examined in almost all discussions about empaths: the intricate and often fraught relationship between boundless empathy and personal identity. Because here is the insidious truth of what the constant, relentless absorption of other people's emotions does over a long period of time to a person who, by her very nature, does not possess strong, protective emotional barriers. It blurs the very boundaries of the self. When you spend decades feeling what other people feel with such visceral intensity, when you dedicate years to constantly attuning yourself to the shifting emotional states of everyone around you, when your own internal experience has been perpetually flooded and interwoven with the imported experiences of countless others, it becomes genuinely, terrifyingly difficult to know with absolute confidence what you yourself actually feel, what your authentic emotions truly are. This isn't a dramatic, sudden identity crisis in the conventional sense. It's a quiet, subtle, insidious erosion, an everyday kind of confusion. She sits with her own feelings, trying to sort through them, and finds herself wondering, how much of this is actually mine? How much of this is truly an expression of my inner world? She attempts to discern her own preferences, her own likes and dislikes, only to discover them intricately tangled up, almost indistinguishable from the preferences of the people she loves, the people she spends time with. She tries to identify her own fundamental needs, her own quiet longings, and heartbreakingly realizes that she has spent so much of her life attuned to the needs of others that her own have gradually faded into the background, becoming nothing more than indistinct noise in the grand symphony of everyone else's demands. This creates an identity that is somewhat permeable, a self with perpetually soft, yielding edges. And a self with soft edges is, by its very nature, easily shaped and molded by whoever happens to be in the room, whoever she is currently interacting with. Which means that in her friendships and relationships, she runs the constant risk of losing herself entirely. She can unwittingly become a reflection, a mirror image of whoever she is closest to at any given moment. Not deceptively, not strategically, but organically, naturally, almost involuntarily. Because she is so exquisitely attuned, she effortlessly picks up on the other person's way of seeing the world, their manner of speaking, their unique way of feeling, and these subtle nuances become an intrinsic part of how she herself operates. And then, when that person inevitably leaves her life, she can feel a strange, profound emptiness. It's not just the sadness of a loss, it's a peculiar, aching void, as though she has lost not merely a friend, but some intrinsic, essential portion of her very self. This makes every single loss feel disproportionately larger, more devastating than it might to someone with a more solid, more clearly defined sense of self. And after enough losses that feel so enormous, so existentially threatening, the very prospect of opening up to another person, of forming a new bond, feels less like a glimmer of hope and more like an impending threat, a danger to her very being. So, she retreats further, protects herself even harder, building formidable walls. These walls do not arise from coldness or indifference, but from a place of sheer, desperate survival. And now, she is the woman who feels everything with a searing intensity and yet allows no one in. The woman whose profound empathy once made her the safest, most comforting presence in every room she entered, now finds that same powerful empathy has made genuine intimacy feel terrifyingly dangerous, a risk too great to bear. There is a specific, profound kind of grief that comes with living this particular life. It is not the grief of a dramatic, sudden loss, the kind that elicits immediate sympathy and understanding from others. Instead, it is the quiet, pervasive grief of the ordinary, the sorrow for all the everyday things that simply never happened. It is the grief for the heartfelt phone call that was never made to her, the urgent message she wished she could send. It is the grief for the birthday that was quietly acknowledged in her own mind, but never celebrated with anyone else, never marked by shared laughter or the blowing out of candles. It is the grief for the good news, the small triumphs, that had no one to be joyfully told to, no one to share in her delight. It is the grief for the bad day, the emotional struggle, that was weathered entirely alone, in stoic solitude. It is the profound grief for the inside jokes that could never exist, because there was never anyone truly inside with her, sharing her private world. She grieves the very texture of friendship, the mundane dailiness of it, the countless small, continuous threads that subtly weave two lives together over time, creating a rich tapestry of shared experience. She does have connections, yes. She has many meaningful conversations with various people. She has individuals who value her for her insights and her ability to help. But she utterly lacks the essential fabric, the continuous, intricately woven presence of another human being who simply knows her life as it is unfolding, who is there not just for the deep, profound conversations, but for the quiet Tuesday afternoon, the inexplicable bad mood, the random, quirky observation, and the comfortable, companionable shared silence. That, at its very core, is what true loneliness actually is. It is not merely the physical absence of people, it is, far more profoundly, the devastating absence of a witness. She has no one to witness her ordinary, everyday life, the small moments that constitute its true essence. And the woman who so effortlessly witnesses everyone else's deepest interior world has no one, absolutely no one, to witness hers. But what then can change? Because this is not intended to be a static portrait of permanent, unchanging pain. This is meant, rather, to be the crucial beginning of understanding, and understanding, always, always, represents the genesis of profound change. 1. Reclaiming her narrative of depth. The first, most vital thing that must change is the fundamental story she tells herself about her own profound depth. For the vast majority of her life, she has been explicitly or implicitly told that her depth is the problem, that she is too much, that she needs to dial it down, that normal people do not feel this way or desire this kind of intense, raw connection. And tragically, she has partially believed it. She has internalized this destructive narrative, turning her greatest, most precious gift into a source of deep-seated shame. That story, that insidious falsehood, needs to end, completely and irrevocably. Her depth is not the problem. Her depth has simply not yet found its true, natural environment. For too long, she has been a magnificent deep-sea creature, accustomed to the vastness of the ocean, attempting to survive and thrive in the shallow confines of a tide pool. Not because she made a wrong choice, but simply because she did not yet know that other, deeper places existed, that entire oceans of connection were possible. But they do exist. There are other deep places, other profound spaces where her true nature can flourish. There are other people who live authentically at that same profound depth. Not many perhaps, but they are absolutely out there, and they too are searching, also feeling unseen, also quietly wondering if they are too much. 2. Cultivating her own inner wellspring. The second crucial shift involves the way she tends to herself, her own inner world. Because here is the inevitable consequence of spending years pouring emotional attunement into everyone else and receiving almost none in return. You develop a kind of interior drought, a parched dryness where there should be a vibrant, replenishing flow. And from a place of such profound drought, you cannot give sustainably. You give from depletion, from an empty reservoir, and that is a fundamentally different quality of giving. It is a giving that quietly harbors resentment, a giving that silently collapses under its own weight, a giving that, eventually, cannot possibly continue. She desperately needs to become for herself what she so naturally, so effortlessly is for others. She needs to sit with her own feelings with the same unwavering presence and compassion she offers to other people's pain. She needs to ask herself the profound, insightful questions she so readily poses to everyone else. She needs to tend to her own interior life with the same meticulous attentiveness and profound compassion she so generously offers to the entire world around her. This is not an act of selfishness. On the contrary, this is the very opposite of selfishness, because a well-tended, self-nurtured empath can give in a way that is genuinely sustainable, a giving that flows freely and endlessly. She becomes a vibrant river rather than a dwindling reservoir, a constant flow rather than a painful depletion, and that, fundamentally, changes everything about how she shows up in her relationships and in the world. 3. Discerning who deserves her depth. The third transformation lies in how she wisely chooses who gets access to her profound depth. Not everyone deserves the deep dive immediately, or perhaps ever. Not because they are inherently unworthy, but because her precious depth has to be earned through demonstrated safety and consistent reliability. She needs to observe how people behave over a significant period of time. Do they show up consistently, not just when it's convenient? Do they check in with her, inquire about her well-being, without needing to be prompted or asked? Do they truly notice when she becomes quiet, when her usual effervescence dims slightly? Do they ask genuine, open-ended questions and patiently wait for real, honest answers, not just quick platitudes? These are the individuals who possess the willingness and the capacity to meet her where she truly lives, at her deepest level. Not perfectly, not without effort on their part, but with a genuine, persistent willingness. And willingness, in truth, is actually enough. She does not need a perfect mirror of herself, someone who feels just as deeply as she does. For such a person is exceedingly rare. What she needs is someone who is willing to keep trying to reach her, to understand her, even when that profound depth momentarily scares them a little. Someone who does not flee when the conversation inevitably gets real, raw, and vulnerable. Someone who finds her intensity not too much, but rather utterly fascinating, endlessly intriguing, not overwhelming but vibrantly alive, a source of endless wonder. Those people exist. They are not mythical creatures from a distant land. They are real, and they are out there, living with their own unique version of this quiet ache, their own subtle loneliness, their own frustrated hunger for something that transcends the superficial. 4. Embracing a full solitude. The fourth significant shift concerns her relationship with solitude, because there exists a version of aloneness that is profoundly hollow, born of disconnection and absence, and there is another, entirely different version that is deeply full, rich, and intentional. For most of her life, she has known primarily the hollow kind, the aloneness that feels like a painful symptom of her profound disconnection from others. But there is another kind of aloneness, the solitude that is consciously chosen, that is intentional, that she actively seeks out. This is the space where she retreats, not because genuine connection is unavailable or impossible, but because she has nurtured and tended to herself well enough to genuinely, completely enjoy her own company. When she finally reaches this sacred place of self-acceptance and self-nourishment, something fundamental shifts in how she appears to the wider world. A person who is truly at peace in their own company, who is content in their solitude, radiates a profoundly magnetic energy. They do not need from others. Instead, they offer from an abundance, a deep well of self-sufficiency, and people instinctively feel that powerful energy. People are drawn to that kind of vibrant energy in the same way they are drawn to a warm, inviting fire on a cold, desolate night. Not because they are trying to take something, but because warmth, by its very nature, attracts and comforts. When she is no longer trapped in the hollow aloneness, when she embodies the full, rich solitude of someone who truly knows herself and faithfully tends to her own inner needs, she stops emitting the frequency of desperate need and instead begins to emit the frequency of open, gentle invitation. And the people who respond to that invitation will be a different caliber of person entirely, drawn by her wholeness, not her need. 5. The courage to be imperfectly seen. The fifth and perhaps most challenging change is her courageous willingness to be seen imperfectly. Part of the reason she often finds herself without deep friendships is that she is, in a very specific and subtle way, terrifying to others. She sees too clearly, too deeply, too unblinkingly. And people who possess such clear sight are sometimes afraid to allow others to see them in return with equal clarity, because they instinctively assume the same ruthless, penetrating perception is being turned upon them. They assume she sees all their hidden failures, their secret flaws, their deep-seated inadequacies as clearly as she sees their pain. And she probably does see them. But what she also sees, crucially, if she has done her own internal work of self-acceptance and compassion, is the inherent beauty that lies underneath those perceived flaws. She sees the immense effort that exists underneath the apparent failure, the profound love that often hides beneath a facade of inadequacy. She sees the whole person, and the whole person is always more than just the parts they feel ashamed of. She needs to let people know this truth, not by merely telling them, but by bravely being willing to show her own imperfection, to expose her own vulnerabilities. To let someone see her when she is uncertain, when she questions herself. To let someone witness her when she has no answers, when she is lost. To let someone be present with her in the middle of her own glorious mess, her own human struggle. Because when she does that, she grants other people the invaluable permission to be imperfect around her too. She consciously closes the emotional distance that her immense capability, her apparent strength, has inadvertently created. She becomes approachable not just as a wise confessor, a guiding light for others' troubles, but as a genuine companion, a fellow traveler on life's journey. And companions are precisely what she is missing, not merely more people who come to her solely to be held and healed. Companions are people who walk beside her, sharing the path, not just those who she carries. The true path to deep, authentic friendship for the female empath is not the well-trodden, conventional path that most people take. It is a slower path, it is a more discerning, more deliberate path, requiring patience and courage. But it leads somewhere real, somewhere profoundly authentic, and real is the only place she has ever truly wanted to go, the only place where her deep-sea heart can truly belong. If this message has resonated with you today, if somewhere within these carefully chosen words you found a piece of yourself, please, once again, drop the word "felt" in the comments below. One word, that is all I ask. And please consider subscribing to this channel because you truly deserve a space where your depth is not viewed as a problem to be managed, but as an extraordinary, precious gift to be profoundly understood and celebrated. She felt everything, every single nuanced emotion, every hidden truth, and everything she felt was, in its own way, trying to lead her somewhere, not away from people, but toward the right ones, toward a genuine sense of belonging, toward the truest embrace of home.